Hello friends, and welcome again to the Shoutin Shannon Show. Today we have a very special treat for you. Fellow children's minister and close personal friend of mine, Jumpin Josh Combs, is with us today. How are you, Josh?
Shoutin Shannon, I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me on the show today.
Absolutely. Thank you for being with us. Josh is the children's pastor at Faith Tabernacle in Manchester, Connecticut, where Pastor Kent Elliott is pastor there. And Josh, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started in children's ministry?
Sure. So I started as a teenager. I had the privilege to grow up in the church, and around 16 or 17, I just kind of got involved in Sunday school. Just kind of was always one of those kids that just wanted to be involved in some way, some form or fashion. And at the age of 19, my pastor's wife came to me and said, "Josh, we want you to be in charge of our kids' church, be in charge of Sunday school." And I was like, all right, I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'll give it a shot. And so basically for those first 2 years, it was kind of a crash course in kids ministry. Everywhere, everything between praying with kids, working with families, writing curriculum, action songs, object lessons, you name it. VBS, I kind of learned and kind of stumbled my way through just learning what it meant to minister to kids in those first couple years. And then in 2008, I had the opportunity to join a ministry soul winning team, and that's where I got to meet you and got to meet some awesome ministers and really got to just get my feet wet and with traveling and just see a lot of things, experience a lot of things all over the country. And from there, God just kept opening up doors to where I was able to travel. I started at one church where I preached at a church in Tennessee. And then from there, I had another door open and then another door open. And then in 2011, I had the privilege to become full-time in kids evangelism. And I did that for about 3.5 years. And just recently, about a year and a half ago, my wife and I accepted a position to be kids pastors here in Connecticut. So it's been an awesome ride. But that's just kind of a nutshell of my experience in kids ministry.
You know, I remember the first time you preached outside your church was actually at a kids revival we were having, and it wasn't planned for you to preach, but I thought it'd be great for you to go ahead and preach the Sunday lesson. All the kids were in with the entire church, and you did an absolutely wonderful job. And I was thinking, I wish I would have done that great the first time I preached outside of my church. So I've seen you grow in ministry, and it's been a pleasure. Josh, why don't you tell us a little bit about your philosophy in children's ministry? You have some really great advice when it comes to leading a children's church service. Why don't you tell us about that?
Sure. So, some kind of a trend. Well, I don't want to call it a trend, but kind of a resurgence or a movement, you can say, in kids ministry in the past 10 or 15 years. It's become very popular is children's church. There's been a huge emphasis and focus on having effective and fun and powerful kids church. And I'm sure pretty much everyone in kids ministry knows what a kids church is, hopefully. But if you're not familiar with the concept of a kids church, basically it's a place where kids can corporately come together across several ages. Usually it's anywhere between pre-K and kindergarten through 5th or 6th grade, and to where children can come together in one place, and they have a worship experience that is geared just for them. It's tailored just for their age group, just for the window of time that they're in, and with action songs and object lessons and Bible lessons that are improv or illustrated, small groups that are more age appropriate and more geared towards certain age groups. There's all kinds of different flavors, if you will, of kids church. And one thing that I like to teach whenever I go across the country and I have the privilege to travel and speak and do seminars is something called the funnel effect. And this is a formula that I use in kids' church. Again, there's all kinds of different effective ways to have a kids' church and to have an effective way of ministering to kids in a corporate atmosphere. And it's definitely not a one-size-fits-all. But I have found that this formula works for me, and I know other kids pastors that have used it that it works for them, and you can kind of put your own twist to it. But basically, it follows the shape of a funnel. And as we all know, a funnel starts out wide at the top and then narrows down. And so there's 3 levels of the funnel. On the first level, very up top, it's very broad, it's very wide, there's not a lot of focus. This is called engage. You want to engage your students. It's very, very important. As soon as your students walk through that door, the first 15 seconds or so is very, very important, because we have either two choices. When a student walks into our kids' church, one, we either grab their attention, we engage their attention, we captivate their attention, we captivate their focus, and then we can build upon that attention, that focus that we have. Or if we don't grab their attention within that first few seconds of them walking in, then we're going to be trying to, grab for it and trying to chase it the rest of the time in the kids' church. So it's very important that you engage your students. Now, again, this can come in many ways. If you walk in to your kids' church, you can do the classic having the beach ball in the air, and if your ceiling is high enough for that, or make sure it doesn't hit any expensive equipment, or maybe have a video, an interactive video. There's all kinds of great resources out there, interactive countdown. Maybe you do a song, or maybe you do just kind of a goofy game. Whatever it is, you want to engage their attention. Now, if you notice, all the things I mentioned there aren't necessarily spiritual, right? Doesn't necessarily have to be spiritual or something deep when they first come in. You just want to get their attention. You just want for them to realize, hey, we're going to have fun here today. This is going to be a great time. So you engage their attention. That's the first thing. The second thing is deliver. This is very important. This is where we deliver our message. And that's the beauty of kids ministry. There's all kinds of creative ways, all kinds of different ways that you can get the Bible, get the gospel across to kids. I've seen several things. Optical illusions. I'm not an optical illusion person, but I know people that use it very effectively. Puppets are big. Illustrated Bible stories, that's one of my favorite ways to teach. You can do video-based lessons. You can do object lessons. There's all kinds of creative ways. Well, one of the key things that I would keep in mind is be versatile. So if you have more than one teacher that's on your staff, and I know there's a lot of small churches out there that might be limited in volunteers, but use what you have. I know that sounds simple, but it's very important. Use what you have. Utilize what you have. If you have someone that is very good at action songs or very good at object lessons, use them. It's always a great tool and a great way to keep kids' attention when you have different teachers. You have different voices instead of just one voice, one person teaching at the same time. But when you have different people up there, that's going to grab their attention. One thing that I've learned is that every time that you clap, every time that a child repeats a word after you, every time a child interacts with you, whether it be a hand motion, whether it be a word, whether it be a song, whatever it is, every time that they interact with you, that their attention span is reset. So you always want to aim for that. And that's the beauty of kids ministry, and the fact that there's all kinds of different learning styles out there. So whatever you do, deliver it in a way that is going to be fun, that is going to be entertaining, but is also going to be applicable to them. And let it be something to where God speak through me, through my message. Whatever I have, let me deliver it in a way that's not just me in the flesh, but Lord, speak through me to wherever my kids are. So first we have engage, deliver your message, and the third and final part of the funnel, we narrow it down, we get serious. This is challenge. You want to challenge your students, whatever it is that you do. And this can also go for Sunday school classrooms. If you still have a traditional Sunday school class setting, I think those are still important. I think it's good to have both settings, corporate and more of a traditional, not traditional, but more of a Sunday school class format, to where there's a better ratio between teacher and students. Whatever format that you have, it's very important that when those children leave that room, when they leave the building and they go on with the rest of their week, you want to challenge them to apply what they just learned. How can they take what you just learned? How can they take the story? How can they take the lesson? And how can they apply it to their lives? So give them tools in their hands. How can they do that? One effective way is providing a handout for your parents. When your parents come, have a handout. Maybe it's once a month. Maybe it's a couple times a month, whatever it is. Try to bridge that gap between the family and the church, to where the family is helping the child reinforce what you just learned during the week. That's going to be something that we're going to be reinstating or using in our kids ministry here at Faith. But there's all kinds of different ways. One thing I like to do is at the end of our kids' church, we have what are called small groups. And we just break up all the kids into smaller groups. Right now we do 1st through 3rd in one group and 4th through 6th in the other group. And basically that's just kind of a time where they can just kind of sit down with the teacher and they can ask, okay guys, what did we just learn? And how can we apply what we just learned to the rest of our week? So it's very important to challenge them. You want to challenge them to apply what they just learned. So The recap: one, the top of the funnel is engage. Engage your students as soon as they walk in. Number two, deliver your message. Do it in a fun and exciting way, but also two, use versatility. Learn the different multiple intelligences. Learn the different learning styles that your children have, whether they be visual, kinesthetic, verbal, whatever they are. Try to apply to those different learning styles and deliver it in a way that they can understand. And third, and final, but definitely not least, is challenge. You want to challenge your students to live what they just learned. So in a nutshell, again, that is the funnel effect.
That is absolutely wonderful advice, Josh, and something that I believe all children's ministers, whether it's children's church ministers or Sunday school teachers, can really, really benefit from. And I know that it's coming from years of experience and results. I know you've seen hundreds of children filled with the Holy Ghost in your time in ministry. And when we first met, we mentored with you some, and even in these past few years, you've actually spoken into my life. And so I personally appreciate that. And again, Josh has been in ministry, children's ministry, since 2008. And he's absolutely done a phenomenal job since then, and I am proud to know him, proud to call him my personal friend. Josh, thanks again so much for being with us on the Shoutin Shannon Show.
Hey, Shoutin Shannon, thank you so much, man. Really appreciate you doing the show. This is needed, not just for kids, but for kids ministers and Sunday school teachers out there. We need more and more resources, and not just any kind of resources, but high quality, good quality resources. And so thank you for providing this show.
Well, we are glad and privileged to have that opportunity. Friends, thanks again for joining us here on the Shoutin Shannon Show. Don't miss a single episode. We've got lots of really wonderful things coming up. The very next episode, make sure your kids see it, because it is an episode especially for the kids. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you soon. Lord bless.